bring on our good friend Matt Park as we wrap up the basketball season. We'll talk a little football with Matt as well. All right, basketball season has drawn to a close, Matt. And, we were talking a little bit earlier in the show about, Donnie Freeman, J.J. Starling. We assume that those are the top priorities in terms of player retention. For the sake of argument, let's say SU is able to hang on to both of those guys. We know Cayenne's coming in, Sadiq White's coming in. What is the next order of business if all of those guys are still, on your roster?
Crush the portal. I think that's been the next order of business throughout this season. Who else can you acquire to bolster the roster? And they're going to need more than just that. I think this is an exciting freshman class, but rare are the freshmen that are making an impact at this level. I don't know that any of these are on Cooper Flagg's level, right? So then there's a reason you want to retain your players because it has some continuity of the development of your program, and those are the top two on the list that you'd want to retain. And then you kind of work down from there. They obviously need to strengthen the roster in every dimension, so I think it's all the help they can get.
We saw DeJour Reeves enter the portal yesterday. He had said he was returning to Iona, and then Iona went and fired their head coach. He's got 1 year left, and he said, "Okay, you fired Tobin Anderson. I'm hitting the portal." Local kid, obviously, so I think naturally people will bring up his name. Do you think he is somebody that Syracuse would look at, or do you think he's not necessarily a Power 4 guy?
I'm not familiar with his game, to be honest with you. So, I would say in the short version of the answer is they're going to look at everybody that's out there, everybody that they think is a reasonable fit. Just looking at Reeves and his background here quickly, sure, why wouldn't you? I mean, somebody that's people that have connections to the area are a lot easier to sell on coming here to play, and because of that, maybe the dollar figures work out a little bit better in your favor. So, I would think he'd be a guy that you definitely would be under consideration.
In terms of looking in the portal, and I know we've kind of touched on this with you before, but what is the most important thing? Is it to get a center out of the portal? Is it to get a point guard? Is it to get a scorer? I mean, what do you think is the top priority in the portal for Adrian Autry and his staff?
I'm not sure by position. I think you guys have laid that out in your discussions throughout the season. It's clear that they want a point guard because they don't want J.J. Starling to have the responsibility of handling the ball to that degree. It's clear that you need a big man because there isn't really one on the roster right now. So I would say they're roughly equal. I don't think it's an or. You have to have both. We all know that last year at this time they really did prioritize going out and getting a big man. I think that's in response to not having, a true 6'11" and up center in the previous couple of years. So they went out and made sure that they secured Eddie Lampkin right away. So I would imagine both of those things are being looked for. To me, the biggest thing I'd be thinking about in the portal is trying to get. I know they're talking about, you'll hear the word fit and how do they fit the culture of the program and that type of thing. It's another area where somebody local transition in because they're familiar with the program and its history. They're familiar with Adrian Autry. Maybe they've worked out with the guys here in the off season. But for me, looking at what happened with constructing last year's roster and then using that as a lesson going forward, I would really be sure, as sure as you can be, that what a player has done is going to translate to playing at the major conference level. No disrespect meant to Lucas Taylor and Jair Davis and that type of thing. They had their moments, but I think as it took a while for them to succeed in the ACC, it's because they played in the Sun Belt and the Colonial, and it's just not the same. And you've got to find people that have done it against bigger, faster, stronger. And so without, even thinking about, I'm not thinking about names specifically, but a backup from the Big Ten might be better than starter in the MAC. It's just the way it is. And it just ballparking it. There's obviously exceptions. So that to me would be the biggest thing that I'd be thinking about. Who out there that we can bring in is suited for what we need and knows that there's not really a lot of time for figuring it out. This team's got to be good next year, and I think for all we do, the public kind of conversation about it, they got to be good from the jump.
Yeah. And to that point, it brings up an interesting topic. The portal opens on Monday, and a lot of the guys who are going to be in the portal are probably some of these, these mid-major guys until the NCAA tournament kind of works its way out. If you're, Adrian Autry and his staff, how do you go about finding that sweet spot of not jumping at the first capable body out of the portal and being patient enough to try and find that guy that you actually want that maybe isn't available for another 2 weeks or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, that's another of the flaws in the system, or at least certainly part of it I think has to be reevaluated. They did obviously bump it back a week this year. It makes it a little bit different. It's kind of a cat and mouse game because you're exactly right. You want to scour. You don't want to settle too early. You don't want to be left without a dance partner, however you want to phrase it. But the work's been done. It's been going on for months and months. I shouldn't say it's done. It's been ongoing. That's why there's agents. That's why you can talk to some of these people and you try to get a sense of who is going in the portal and how's it working out. I mean, I think the first order of business is figuring out from your own roster, who are you retaining? How secure are they? How certain are you about all of that? And then where your gaps are. Then you go out and you work the portal and look for the gaps, and you do the best you can in terms of trying to predict it. Coaching changes happen, and they are kind of hard to predict. There's somebody who's in the tournament this year that's going to go on to another job. There's several of them, obviously, because there's open jobs, right? So when that coach goes in, well, in essence, everybody on the team is in the portal now, and that becomes open season on that group. So that's all part of what these guys do. It's why you need to be evaluating a very wide range of players so that you know what you can act on.
And we all say they need more NIL, and NIL is so important, and it is. But you also look at, 3 of the top 5 NIL programs this year. Kansas State did not make the tournament. Indiana did not make the tournament. Arkansas barely made the tournament. I guess what does that say about, yes, it's important to have a lot of money, but you got to use the money wisely, right?
Yeah, of course. You got to still develop players. All those other things are still important. I would say about NIL, the fact that you spend it doesn't guarantee you success.
Right.
But not participating guarantees that you're not going to compete.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
If you sit it out, there's just too many of your competitors that are out there offering money and building better rosters. There's nobody that's successful on a national scale that isn't participating at all in NIL. When you do participate, you still have to make shrewd decisions, and you still have to evaluate players, and you still are going to get the most bang for your buck when you develop players. So that's, I think you guys had played the Coleman Hawkins stuff, and, he's an easy target as an example of somebody who was highly paid and it didn't work out. There's no guarantee any of this works out. It's all a crapshoot to a degree. When people change scenery, they change roles on their teams. Again, human performance. There's no sure thing.
All right, let's just hit you with a couple of quick football questions before we let you go.
Hey, Steve, I was going to just interject so we don't run out of time on it. I do want to pour out a little something for Steve in North Syracuse. We're going to miss him, and the thing I respected most about Steve is he was well thought out, even-handed, asked good, pointed questions, but he was always fair, did his homework, and it made a great contribution to the coaches' shows over the years. So we're thinking about those who knew him best.
Yeah, well said, Matt, no doubt. I was just going to hit you with a couple of football questions here to close things out. We saw the pro day yesterday, and, Kyle McCord's getting a lot of attention. His stock continues to rise. I keep seeing him in the top 5 of pretty much, every analyst, quarterback class at this point. What do you think is Kyle McCord's ceiling at the next level? Do you look at him as, just a backup, or do you think he's a guy that could start in the league at some point?
Sure he could. I think, Brock Purdy's got nothing on him, right?
Yeah, right.
So why wouldn't you think that if he got in the right situation, he could start. I think he's at minimum backup. You tell me he's not better than Cooper Rush or Ryan Nassib, with all respect. I mean, so
sure.
So that to me is his floor. That he's not going to do anything to embarrass you. He's going to be great in the meeting rooms. I'm telling you, the workout yesterday. The only thing I would say that keeps it being short of jaw dropping is we've seen it from him before. He started out the first 15 minutes. I don't think he threw a ball that was less than perfect. I mean, every single ball was with a textbook spiral right on the hands of the receiver. The receivers did a nice job with him too. I thought it was awesome, and I was happy to have been there seeing it. And I know he's going to do the right stuff when it comes to the whiteboard and talking about plays. And we talked a little bit about that kind of off the air yesterday. I'm excited for him. I can see him being. I mean, who knows how these things work out? Quarterbacks tend to get inflated. Does he go all the way up to the end of the first round or something? But certainly second, third round. I don't know what. I'd asked Nunzio Campanelli yesterday, what's the difference between this guy, and I didn't name names, but like a surefire first-round pick? And I just, there obviously has to be some difference, right? I don't know that he blows you away with athleticism or anything like that, but I can't imagine somebody throwing the ball in an open gym that way really any better than he did yesterday.
Yeah, impressive stuff. And then I guess my last question is, we saw 5 guys go to the Combine from Syracuse. The 2 who didn't, I think, of note are Justin Barron and Marlo Wax. We'll throw Jackson Meeks in there as well, those 3 guys. Of those 3, who do you think has the best chance to stick on a roster?
They talked about Clark really being, if nothing else, a special teams guy. Again, Barron's not going to do anything to blow his chance. Somebody who's played a lot of different positions and knows ball and is going to say and do the right things and bust his hump. Marlo, I think, has a lot of capability too. He does have a little injury history. I think all those guys have a legitimate chance to kind of hang in there. And what does it mean? Practice squad or something? I'm not sure at the end of the day where they wind up, but they should be given every chance. I don't think they do anything that takes them out of it.
All right, Matt. Great stuff as always. Appreciate you coming on. Enjoy the rest of your week.
All right, sounds good. You guys. Thanks.
All right, Matt Park joining us here on the show. We'll take our final time out. We'll wrap things up next on ESPN Radio.